Hello, hello. Glad you can join us today. Kind of getting all set for this Monday. Always tough, right? Monday morning at 8 a.m. no less, right? So kind of hard to get started in the week. I totally get it. I was dropping off my wife this morning and we were like, oh, well, at least next weekend is a 3-day weekend for us. So that's kind of nice. Unless, of course, you're working on that third day on Monday. Anyway, what we have to talk about today is not this. It's a matter of pushing the right buttons. You know how it is. Today we are talking about working in project teams. Now, here's the thing. We've got a big project for this course, and it's starting now. Don't make the mistake of thinking, oh, it's an end of semester project, therefore we work on it at the end of the semester. No, we're working on it now. We are working on the final team project right now. And one of the things we're going to do to start working on it is learn how to come together as a team. That is far and away the most important thing we can do right now. So, reiterating, the most important thing we can do right now is come together as a team. So, if you wait, it's going to hurt. All right. The sooner we come together as a team, the better. So today we're going to talk about, and we're going to talk about this over the next couple of weeks. We're going to talk about some of the ways that we can do this. How do we come together? How do we cooperate? How do we collaborate? How do we resolve conflict when working as a team? So let's go ahead and get started on that. All right, we're going to come on over here. There we go. And we are working in project teams. So right off, let's just talk about groups, all right? Right now, you're not a team, you're a group. All right, whatever. Well, let's first talk about groups, and then let's talk about what makes groups into teams. So first of all, a group, 2 or more people who come together, interact for whatever reason. Right now, the teams that we have together, most of you are 2, some of you are 3. There's actually one team of 4, but most of you are 2 or 3. You're coming together for a shared goal. You have a shared purpose. You want to do well in the class. Actually, you don't even really care about doing well in the class. Come on, let's be honest. It's not doing well in the class. It's that you want the points, okay? This is one of the things that's kind of a little frustrating. Oh, we'll just come back on over here. One of the things that's not frustrating because of you or me, it's the system. One thing that's a little frustrating as a teacher is I want you to learn the skills. I want you to really develop these skills so that you can go out into the real world, kick ass and take names and chew bubblegum, okay? But the way the system works is you're really encouraged just to think about points. It's frustrating. Nevertheless, that's okay in terms of a shared objective. You guys want to do well. And groups are governed by systems of formal and unspoken behavioral norms. We're going to talk a lot about that today. Okay, so continuing on, 2 types of groups. 2 types of groups. You've got a formal group governed by formal structure and an organization. The team that you are with, that is considered a formal group because it is one set up for a specific business purpose. Get the points, learn the skills, hopefully. Set up by a formal organization, Salt Lake Community College, the class, all that sort of stuff, right? But then you also have informal groups formed around common interest, habits, personality traits, and so forth. Here's the thing. Everybody says they hate working in teams. And I get it. I get it. However, we don't hate playing video games with others. We don't hate going to groups of movies and clubs or whatever we do. You know, when you are with your friends and family doing an event, playing video games or going to a family picnic or whatever, family reunion, who knows what, right? These are team activities. And you seek out team activities. Right? If you play video games or board games and so forth with others, if you go to concerts, if you do road trips and so forth, you seek out team activities. So we need to understand that there's actually a lot of good that comes from it. Don't just fall right into that old, axiom of I hate working in teams. Okay. So why do we get together in teams beside the fact that, well, your professor put you in a team? evolutionarily, we need each other. We really need each other. We need to come together, strengthen numbers. We also have different skill sets and so forth. So to do well in big projects and so forth, we need one another because of our common interest. A lot of people will ask, hey, can I do this project alone? And don't ask that, right? It's in the syllabus. Don't ask it. But it's kind of like, you know what? You can't do anything alone. You can't. You can't. Okay? You know, I often ask, tell me one thing that you did on your own. And the fact of the matter is everything we do involves a lot of other people. Whether or not they're seen or unseen, known or unknown, they're involved, okay? Am I shooting this video, this live stream, all by myself right now? Well, I'm in the room alone, but the people who made all this equipment, the folks who are providing the service, you folks who are here and attending, giving this lecture meaning and purpose, I'm not doing this alone, okay? Another reason is affiliation. We really like to be needed and part of a group, part of a whole. It actually speaks to our self-esteem. There's a ton of research that shows that those who have friends and participate in groups and teams and feel a sense of belonging within a social unit are happier, live longer, are healthier, all that good stuff. So we really need this to really feel like we have a place in our communities. So this is important stuff. Identity. The need to know who we are and project a desired identity. You know, right? Okay, I'm a professor. All right. Well, that kind of gives me an identity, right? Now, hopefully I'm healthy enough in my head that my whole domain of self-worth is not linked solely to my position as a professor. Nevertheless, it gives me a sense of, okay, I have a place in the community because professors have a role. We serve a purpose, or so we like to think, right? We also project an image that way. So when I say professor, or when somebody says, oh, you know, I do this, that, and the other, I do construction, I do electrical, I do management, and so forth, this projects an image. So these are things that do not exist outside of a team framework. And then goal achievement. Guys, we can accomplish so much more together. We can do more, it's higher quality, it's easier, and it's faster to do it together. So yeah, we come together, we fill resource gaps, we share the load, and we end up putting something together that we wouldn't be able to do alone. So this is why we come together in teams. All right, so there's some stuff about why this is important. Now let's talk about how we actually work together in a team, okay? Teamwork, cooperative effort by the members of a group to achieve a common goal. So when you guys are working on your final project, it's a cooperative effort. Everybody is engaging, everybody is participating, and you all have your eye on the prize. Get the assignment in at the right time with the right level of quality, so on and so forth. Okay? Let's talk about some advantages and disadvantages. Don't get me wrong. I know teamwork is tough. There are disadvantages. Let's understand what the pros and cons are so that we can mitigate for the cons. We're going to learn tips and tricks and skills that will help us mitigate for the challenges. First, the advantages. Overcome the limitations of specialization. Yeah, not everybody can do everything. So you want to bring people together so that you can fill resource gaps. One of you is going to be good at graphic art. Another one of you is good at writing and editing. Another one of you is good at PowerPoint presentations. Another one of you is good at project management and keeping everything, on schedule and so forth. You're going to make sure that everybody is bringing their best skills to the table. You can challenge and overcome together, right? Challenge and encourage each other. This is why they always say, hey, if you want to start an exercise program, you guys don't need to worry about this. You're all young and so forth. But, if you want to encourage an exercise program, go running with a friend, right? Because then when it's you and a friend, you're accountable to somebody and you can push each other and you can have fun in the challenge and so forth. So that's another advantage. And then you can just produce more together. Okay, there's actually a lot of assignments in this final project, a lot of assignments, and they're over 40% of the grade. So if you just looked at the assignment and the weight of those grades, you'd be like, I'm going to freak out. But since you're working together, no problem. But now let's look at the challenges. First of all, it takes time to learn how to work together. That's why we're talking about this right now. So, for example, I'm in the film program here at Salt Lake Community College. Actually, I didn't take a class the last couple semesters, but in any case, I'm taking a lot of classes on filmmaking and so forth, film production. And the teacher, of course, to make a film, you need to work together with others. You need a director, you need a DP, director of photography, the camera person, right? You need the actors and you need the script and all that. Well, the teacher just throws you together and says, okay, you for your team, you for your team, you for your team, go at it, right? Well, since the purpose of the class is making a film, I don't expect the teacher to spend a lot of time talking about collaborating and so forth. However, the purpose of this class is to learn how to work together as a team in a business setting and to communicate and produce something for the customer. So that's why we care about this here, taking the time to learn to work together. It says potential for conflict. Actually, there's no potential for conflict. There is a guarantee of conflict. Guarantee of conflict. Now, we're going to talk about how to work through the conflict and so forth, but just know it's going to happen. Now, real quick, Noah here says film production is a perfect example of teamwork. Everybody has a unique role. This is absolutely, totally correct. Yes. Okay, oh my gosh, don't get me started, Noah. It is extraordinary that any good film is ever made because making a movie is so difficult. Even when the very best are doing it, it's still really difficult. Any case, okay. So excellent point. You're going to have conflict. Now, what often happens is at the first sign of conflict, I'll have a student come to me and say, hey, can I change teams? And it's like, okay, no, but before we just hit delete on the no, say, listen, conflict is standard. We're going to talk about why it's actually a helpful thing. Conflict is good. We're going to talk about this. Furthermore, conflict is guaranteed. So if every single time you run into conflict, you're going to say, I'm out, well, then you are never going to be successful working with others. Okay. Otherwise, every couple that got married would be divorced inside of 3 weeks because trust me, conflict is there. Okay. And then the last one, Decisions take longer. It actually takes a little bit longer to plan and think things through because you need to get a consensus, you need to negotiate, you need to make sure that everybody understands and is on the same page. So this takes some time. But then once those decisions are made and everybody commits and then gets to work, it happens like that. It is so quick. So you make up for it. Okay, continuing on. Hey, I don't know if you know this, but there are barriers to working together in a team. It's not always easy. I know you know this. Let's talk about some of these barriers. First of all, we've got conformity and groupthink. Okay, this is acting in coordination and agreeing with one's group. In other words, not challenging the ideas, not discussing them, not looking at the pros and cons and delving into them and so forth. This just means everybody agrees without exploring, which means that once the real work starts, people start to disagree because they didn't really understand what they were agreeing to in the first place. But this happens a lot. Reasons members tend to conform. Well, they want to avoid the pressure or rejection by the rest of the group and a desire to meet the group's shared objectives and be rewarded for their work. So, in other words, they don't want to be pushed out as the outsider, so they'll just agree. Get in there, talk about it, explore, everybody speak up, okay? That's how you're going to get out of that. Everybody speak up. Status, the rank held by an individual in a group. It's like, oh, I want to be the leader. We're going to talk about that in a future lecture. There's no such thing. Well, it's not there's no such thing. We'll talk about that. Okay, but everybody kind of jockeying for position tends to get in the way of a team coming together. Hidden agendas. Okay, this one's a big one, especially when it comes to these project teams. Hidden agendas are things like secret wishes, hopes, desires, and assumptions that individuals don't want to share with the group. So, for example, and this is where we can work through this, right? For example, let's say somebody's in the group thinking, I want to do this with as little effort as possible. I want to contribute as little as possible because I don't care. C's get degrees. I've got so much else going on. Whatever, right? But they keep that to themselves because who wants to share with the team that they don't want to work, right? Well, share it with the team. Check this out. Let's say that you're in a situation where you really are insanely busy this summer and you've taken more classes than you probably should have. I'm just making this stuff up, right? Your work is overloading you. You've got a new job. There are family issues and so forth. And so you're just kind of like, listen, C's get degrees. I'm not going to sweat this. I've got other priorities in my life that I need to pay attention to. Communicate this with the team. Work things out. You can say, hey, listen, I have a lot of time during this period, so let me do the bulk of the work during that. So for this assignment and this assignment, I will do this and this. But for this assignment and this assignment, I'm unavailable. Okay. Also, I'm willing to do, this kind of work because I can do that really fast and easily. So do me a favor. Let's assign that kind of work to me. So this way, there are no hidden agendas and people know what they're really after. Otherwise, you'll have one student who's like a psychopath and needs a 4.0 in everything because they think it matters. There's one of you out there. And then you've got the other student who's like, hey, you know what? If the professor graduated with a 2.3, I think I can manage a 2.3. If you guys don't talk, then that conflict hits hard in the middle of the project. So that's why this is a communications class. We communicate. Okay, continuing on. This brings us to the Tuckman model, okay? The Tuckman model, let's see, where are we? We're at 8:20. Okay. The Tuckman model is a very interesting piece of work put together by a guy named Tuckman. And what he does is he talks about team formation in these several, I think 5 distinct stages of the model. Now, some of the videos that you guys are watching talk about the Tuckman model as seen through the movie The Avengers. I'm actually thinking of making a new video that talks about the Tuckman model through the lens of Top Gun Maverick, because you can see the Top Gun Maverick, you can see the Tuckman model in the Top Gun Maverick movie. So I'm thinking of putting that together. So what I want to do today is give us a quick overview of this. You're going to watch these videos. You're going to go into much more detail in those videos. That's the reading, right? No textbook in the class. We do the videos instead. But let's do an overview here so that we understand what we're getting into. So coming on over here, and I think what I need to do is I need to disappear for a moment. Yeah, let's get out of the way there. Okay. The first stage is the forming stage. This is the stage you guys are in right now. You're just in forming. And what is this characterized by? Well, you're really just getting acquainted. Okay, here's my name, and this is my dog, and I like to go hiking and skiing. The whole idea is just to feel comfortable with one another. You're not really getting deep or anything. You're just, hey, I want to just kind of get to know folks and feel okay. You exchange information. Here's my email address. Here's my texting phone number. The whole idea, though, is you really want to avoid conflict. Nobody is interested in conflict in the forming stage. You just want to be accepted. And yeah, to some degree or another, you size each other up. Are you going to be the slacker? Are you going to be the one we can rely on for this kind of work? Are you going to be the one who's willing to lead, or, what have you? You're sizing each other up. Now, the whole goal of the forming stage is to build an operating structure. Just come together, okay? Later on, your next assignment, you will be putting together a team charter. A team charter is a wonderful tool to help set up a formal operating structure and to start moving people from forming to storming. Now, Noah here says forming is one of the hardest parts of working as a team for some people, depending on how social that person is. So freaking true. Okay, that is just so true, because some folks just are not comfortable in that, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, don't think, oh, the good people are extroverts and no. Some people aren't interested in talking that much. Some people are just quiet. Some people don't want to share much at all. Some people are really concerned about feeling judged and so forth. Forming can be really hard. In fact, Noah, to your point, okay, let's check out this last assignment. The last assignment we just had was just come together in a Zoom meeting and say hi. That's all the assignment was. And furthermore, it was worth 10% of your grade. It's insane that such a simple thing is worth so much. And yet, the reason I do that is because of exactly what you said, Noah. It's very hard. It's so simple and easy on the surface, but actually getting people to finally swallow hard and realize I'm part of this team, I guess we need to meet and so forth, that's tricky stuff. So, yeah, totally with you. All right, let's get out of the way again here. Okay, so then that takes us on to storming. Storming is inevitable. Okay, just a real quick thing here, by the way. Storming is going to happen. It's going to happen. It's not a question of will it happen. It's a question of how long will it last and how painful, how deep will it go. People who come together in teams all the time and know how to work as teams and so forth, they can get through the storming phase, I'm not making this up, in 10 minutes. Okay, I'm not making this up, right? I'll give you an example. Airline pilots. The airline crew, you've got most of the time 2 people in a crew, sometimes 3. You have a pilot, co-pilot, and sometimes an engineer. They'll come together and they've never worked together. Sure, they work for the same company and so forth, but now they're a crew. They actually have to get through the Tuckman model inside of 30 minutes, and they have a whole checklist to do it. The point is, you will go through storming. The question is, are you going to use the tips, tricks, and techniques that I teach you today to get through it such that it's relatively short and painless? Okay? So with that, let's come back over here. So in the storming phase, you guys have no shared vision per se. It's just, some of you, it's like, I'm just here to get the grade. I'm just here to have fun and self-actualize. I'm here because I have to be. I'm here. There's just no shared vision, so it's hard to communicate, hard to agree on things. There's a lot of conflict. A lot of interpersonal conflict, and a lot of frustration, tons of frustration, and perception of slacking. Now, real quick on this perception of slacking thing, and I'll even write down, it's fundamental. Okay, I'm going to write this down because you might want to Google it later. And that's spelled wrong. Hold on, sports fan. Fundamental attribution error. Fundamental attribution error comes up a ton in the storming phase. Now, what's fundamental attribution error? It's when somebody does something that we don't like and we look at what they did as a character flaw, as a flaw in their personality, versus the result of external factors, right? So a simple example is when somebody cuts you off in traffic, gets right in front of you and swerves around and takes off, and it freaks you out and makes you hit your brakes and so forth. Well, you know why they did this. It's because they're an asshole. That's fundamental attribution error. You look at what they did as a character flaw, not as a result of what's going on outside. What you don't know is that it could be that their child is bleeding to death in the back seat. It could be that they were avoiding something in the other lane. It could be that they just didn't see you. Come on, we all screw up on the road every day. Yeah, it's nothing about them personally. It's just the environment. Oftentimes when we get really frustrated with each other and we perceive each other as slacking or not communicating and so forth, we say, well, it's because they're not a good team member, not because actually they're really, really busy, they didn't see my email, or they're, who knows, right? So we want to bear that in mind. During the storming phase, there's a lot of jockeying for position and competing for influence. All right. Everybody kind of wants to have their way, if you will. But ultimately, we want to get through storming and build team spirit and team spirit and comfort working together. I was expecting to see a different word, but that's the right word. Okay. So that's what we want in storming. because eventually we want to get to norming. All right. Norming is a great place to be. We all want to get to norming because now we're focusing on the work. The question of leadership is resolved. We know who the project manager is. Communication increases. We're meeting weekly. We're texting daily. We know where everybody is in the project. Issues are addressed quickly. Blame decreases. We're just getting the work done. And everybody is participating. That's what norming looks like. And the desired outcome is get the work done by listening, addressing needs, refereeing, and resolving issues. Now, I want to say, if you only get to norming, great. Don't worry. Norming is normal. It's normal to get to norming. And that's really a common place to be, especially for a project team like this and so forth. So you're going to be in great shape. However, there's another stage, which is performing. All right. And performing, that's where the I like the process of the ing, right? Yes. I like it, Noah. Yes. Performing is where the magic happens. This is the teams. When you're watching sports, I don't watch sports, but when you watch basketball or whatever, ball and so forth, this is when the teams are just on fire and incredible. This is a performing team. This is when, you see movies and so forth where everybody's just in the right place at the right time doing the right thing. This is performing. So let's talk about that. In a performing stage, everybody is focused on the objective. They have taken the individual out of the equation. All that matters is the objective. And they are in constant communication. Texting all the time, emailing all the time, meeting all the time, constant communication. Very open to new ideas and solutions. They get kind of charged up with that. They bring creativity to the party. There's respect, honesty, and authenticity for one another. And people are resourceful, right? They're doing some pretty cool things with the resources they have. Desired outcome is refocus on the objective and improve performance, efficiency, and outcomes. Now, at the end of the performing stage, you guys are going to get to adjourning. Now, adjourning is when we all say bye-bye to each other. Don't underestimate this. If you actually get to performing, saying bye-bye is kind of tough. Right? But you're going to go through an adjourning stage at the very end of the semester. Of course, you're going to say your goodbyes. You're going to feel some apprehension over loss if you got to performing. You'll submit your final deliverables. You're going to tie up loose ends. We will celebrate and we will reflect and, just kind of give some ultimate closure, if you will, to the experience. And of course, the desired outcome is express thanks, celebrate, provide feedback, and document our afterwits. And yes, you see, afterwits is an anachronistic word. It's an extinct word that we need to bring back. And the closed caption thing here changed afterwit to afterwards. And it's like, no, afterwits. So there we go. Okay. So, all right. You're going to come together as a team here. You're going to be all, going to go through the Tuckman model. Let's talk about 5 ways to get great teamwork. However, I'm tired. I need a break, so I am going to introduce you to our newest break mode, we're going to have a dance break. So the beautiful thing is nobody's watching you. So get up, stretch, move around, and if you want, dance with me. All right. Got to get up and move once in a while, so there we go. Let's talk about 5 keys to great teamwork. Oh, I'm sweating. I'm all hot because I'm that good of a dancer. Yes, I am. Okay, let's get into this. First of all, communication. Dudes, it's a communications class. It is a business communication class. Everything comes down to communication. I believe that the root of just about every social problem is poor communication, and the solution to just about every social problem is better communication. It all comes down to communication. And so when we come together as a team, we need to communicate. Well, what does this mean? Oh, yeah, I know, right, Elizabeth? It's just astonishing how good I am. I awe even myself. And that's not easy. Okay, so listening, contributing, come on. We need to be a part of this, right? We need to make sure that we're available for the team, that we are contributing, we're chiming in. Even when the team has a direction and so forth, when you're quiet and so forth, it's like that little status bar. You know how when you're loading software or something or another, or your game is coming up and there's this little status bar that goes? Well, sometimes communication, just touching base, is like that status bar. It just shows that you're there and contributing. Whereas if nobody hears anything from you, it's like that status bar has stopped and we all freak out because we think our system has crashed. All right, so we want to communicate. Build relationships. I mean, I was listening to a podcast today. I'm not done with it yet. But I'll listen to the second half this afternoon. The podcast is called No Stupid Questions. And the no stupid question that they're asking in this particular episode is it harder to make friends when you're in your 40s and older than when you were young and in high school and college and so forth? And I won't go into the whole episode, but it did introduce to me, or at least remind me of something I'd heard, which is called friends for a reason, friends for a season, friends for a lifetime. Right now, you are friends for a season, meaning you are in this point in time and location, you are together to accomplish something during this summer season. You're also friends for a reason, right? You need to come together and so forth and accomplish this. You don't have to be lifelong friends for a lifetime, but you do need to learn to collaborate and work together and build a relationship such that you're friends for a reason and friends for a season, okay? Shared decision making, working toward a common understanding. Common and shared understanding is absolutely key, and this is what comes about through communication. The next thing you want to do is engage. You really, really want to participate. Again, it's that status bar example that I use. Everybody fully contributes their skills and talents to help reach the objective. That means attending the meetings, speaking up, brainstorming, taking on roles and responsibilities. Now, later on, we've only got, I think, one more lecture for this class. So after the next live stream, I think it is, we start going to Zoom, because in the Zoom meetings, I will break us all out into our individual teams, and we will use these 2 hours that we have to actually do the project. Okay, so attending the meetings and brainstorming and participating during all that is absolutely vital to a healthy team. You want to manage conflict. We are going to talk about how to manage conflict here in a moment. Just suffice it to know that, we need to manage it. You're not going to get rid of it. You don't want to get rid of it. Conflict is actually a good thing. Okay, conflict is what generates innovation and solutions. And so we want to harness the power of conflict. I need an animation for that, right? So we want to leverage conflict to get all the good out of it without letting it derail the team. That's what we mean by managing conflict. More about that later. Focus on the task and so forth. Like I say, we're going to go into depth on this later, so I'm going to move on. Shared understanding. You really want to make sure that everybody is on the same page with what needs to be done, why we're doing it, who's going to do it, and what success looks like for us. We really want this. So clear understanding of the goals and outcomes, tolerance for working in ambiguity. Not everything is going to be perfectly spelled out for you. It's not that I'm holding anything back. I'm not holding anything back. There's a ton of resources out there on Canvas and so forth. I'm not holding anything back. Nevertheless, once you start dealing with wicked problems, that are kind of amorphic and changing and ambiguous, you need to be willing to work in that ambiguity. Consensus of the objective of work and buy-in on the direction and the work that's going to be done. Here very soon, like within a week or two, you're going to come to an agreement on what you're going to do for your final project, okay? So everybody needs to have buy-in there. Finally, make sure there's accountability, okay? Holding oneself and others accountable and one another. There we go. Sometimes I get typos in these things that I've put in, and I get confused whether I'm looking at a typo or not. You need to have individual and shared accountability. Now, real quick, a thing about the accountability in this assignment, It is a team assignment. However, I grade individually. And if I see that somebody is not contributing, they're not going to get the points that those who contributed will get. Okay? So it's a team assignment, but I grade individually. One other thing about accountability. If you're having issues communicating with somebody, if they're not responding or not contributing, let me know you are not throwing them under the bus. Okay? I can help get them engaged. I think a couple of the teams have already seen me doing this. I can help kind of light a fire under them in a good, positive, supportive way and get them engaged because I understand the fundamental attribution error. I know that if somebody is not engaging, it's probably for reasons that I don't know about, so I can reach out, help them out, get them spun up. So if somebody isn't contributing or is not engaged or communicating, let me know and I'll get them looped in. And don't worry, you're not being that person who's ratting them out. You're being the person who's escalating to help them be successful. Okay? So important. All right. Conflict resolution. I told you we're going to go more into conflict resolution because this is important. However, this is our last part. Before we talk about conflict resolution, we are going to do our next juggling lesson. So if you have your juggling balls, get those out. Okay, so our next juggling lesson. Now, I believe, I teach 2 live stream classes and we're actually slightly off schedule from one another. So I believe what we're talking about today is 2 balls. Last time we met, we talked about 1 ball and that simple toss, right? Man of many skills. Yeah. Well, how do I put this? You know, when you're a jack of all trades and a master of none, there you go. Okay. So we were doing the 1 ball. Hey, and by the way, did that get us up to, I think that's going to earn an animation next time, but we'll get there after. Hey, Michaela, yeah, if you go ahead and let Barbie Willett, my boss, know that, just messing with you. Okay, juggling. We were doing the 1 ball, tossing up and down, and it could be that you were like, oh, dude, this is so boring. I mean, like, I totally know how to throw a ball. Why are you wasting my time and making me do this? Well, because now we're going to do 2 balls. And funny darn thing, you're going to totally forget how to throw a ball. Just by adding 1 ball, you will have forgotten everything about how to do a single ball toss. So let's get 2 balls and talk through it. What we want to do is just toss 1, 2, just like we were with 1 ball, but now we're going to do 2 balls. Now, you are going to be tempted to throw both the balls at the same time because there's a little bit of panic building in you that I got to get these 2 balls up there. And so you're going to go, okay, right? You're going to, and it's going to be a mess. What you really want to do right now is focus on throwing them 1 at a time, 1, 2. And when you do this, I'll even, I won't move the chair, but I'll catch them. But I'm going to catch them. But when you throw them 1, 2, let them fall to the ground. And when they fall to the ground, you want to hear them thump 1, 2. Now, in my case, I'm going to catch them, but you should hear the catch 1, 2. So you start with the right hand and go 1, 2. You know, I throw 1, 2. I catch 1, 2. That's what you want. Now let them fall to the ground. And once you kind of get that 1, 2, then you can worry about catching. Now, you start with the right, 1, 2, but then go with the left because you want to start with a different hand each time. So now we start with the left hand, 1, 2. So this is all you are going to do. Now, don't get me wrong. It's simple. It's really simple, but you got to get past the sort of minor panic, right? So just really focus on the 1, 2. Now, a couple of things. One is when you throw the second ball, you end up throwing it under where the first one was. So you notice I throw it underneath, right? Now, later on, you can actually throw it over, but it's actually more tricky to throw it over, actually. Now, it's more tricky to throw it over because whether you realize it or not, the ball does not make a perfect arch, okay? Exaggerating it, it kind of goes up and then falls. So it goes across, momentum, slows down, and gravity takes over and it kind of falls. So the idea is to take advantage of that, albeit very slight, pseudo arch. I don't know what it's called, okay? Throwing it over then becomes a little bit more tricky, but we'll worry about that later. So that's all you're going to do. All you want to do is focus on that 1, 2, and going back and forth from a different hand with the first throw. So now we're going to start with the left. And you just practice that. Okay? That's it. Now, the good news is that's actually kind of the hardest part. Once you get that all set, you're going to be in really good shape. Okay, let's come back over here. Last part, we are going to talk about conflict in the workplace. And, let's get some, we're low on points today, guys. Let's get some points there. So I'm going to ask you this. What comes to mind when you consider the word conflict? What comes to mind? So just type in whatever comes to mind when you see the word conflict. There it is, conflict. And let's play at that for a couple of minutes. Okay, fantastic. Let's take a look at these. These are great. So first we've got Noah differing, and that's doing the wrong thing. So I'm going to come over here. There we go. We've got Noah differing viewpoints, right? And then Lauren following in on that with disagreement. So now we're getting somewhere with these points. Let's do it. Yeah, funny thing. So disagreement, different viewpoints, and so forth. Here's one of the things, folks. We tend to get really in love with our viewpoints. I mean, we think they represent us, and that anybody who challenges our opinion or viewpoint is de facto challenging us as a person of worth. And it's like, no. It's just a disagreement on how to approach this. I'm not saying anything about you or your mother, right? But we sometimes really respond like this. Arguing, difference of opinions, absolutely, Michaela. Foz with chaos, yeah. So Young, arguing and disagreement, also different opinions, yes, absolutely. Argument, right? Conflict can be an argument and so on. Absolutely. Now we're getting there, folks. Noah then says a problem, big or small, like Ukraine, big. What would she have for? What should we have for dinner? Small. You know, it's kind of funny how the same aspects of conflict can play out in different ways. I really like this. Very good, guys. And now we're getting that engagement. There we are. We're over here. Are we? Yeah, we're over here. Now we're getting that engagement that I'm looking for. Thank you. So what I want to do is reframe conflict for a moment. Because now I want to be clear. None of you were wrong. You were all right. None of you were wrong. However, we were not complete. There are aspects of conflict that didn't make the list. Let's look at what these aspects are. Conflict arises when we perceive that another person has challenged, damaged, or put at risk something we care about. Okay? So, for instance, I care about engagement, right? Therefore, when I don't see a lot of engagement, I feel conflict, right? Which is why I do this weird ass stuff like dancing and juggling. All right? And then some of you will look at that and go, okay, I can't believe a professor with a PhD who's almost 60 years old is dancing, and he is so bad. Others might be saying, this guy, he gives no Fs. I love it. I can relate to this guy. These are things that create conflict and challenge who we are and how we feel and so forth. Well, now you guys got this. But now there's dysfunctional conflict, but then functional. Dysfunctional brings about destructive conflict. You guys totally nailed that here, right? Dysfunctional conflict. However, there's functional conflict too, which brings about constructive conflict. What does that look like? Well, let's play with this for a moment. First of all, there's inner conflict. Occurs when an individual, often involving values, loyalties, or priorities, you're conflicted about how should I, giving no Fs literally or figuratively. Well, I at least gave an F to say F, right? Hang on. I'm sure it was one more. I don't care. It's good. We'll get you those points. You guys have to make decisions all the time, and you have to weigh your values and your priorities all the time. Whether or not to come to this live stream live and say, get some points and participate, or whether to watch later on, or whether to not watch it at all and just kind of run with the material that's on Canvas. That works, by the way. You're in conflict. However, in so doing this, you're challenging what's important to you. You're looking at your resources, and you are making decisions that ultimately, hopefully, work best for your long-term objectives. So in this way, inner conflict helps drive us in the right direction. We have person versus person conflict. Manifests when two people find themselves at odds over personality differences, value conflicts, loyalties, or any other number of issues. Okay. Well, this happens, say, I'll give you an example. Let's say in a relationship, an intimate relationship, we're talking with a romantic partner, a spouse, and what have you, and so forth. This conflict happens all the time. But now, as Noah points out, sometimes they're itty-bitty little things. Sometimes they're great big things. But what happens if we do it right, okay? If we do conflict right, then what happens is we are able to come to an understanding, to a consensus, and move forward as a partnership to accomplish whatever it is that we're trying to do, okay? Another one, intergroup conflict takes place when an already formed groups have conflict with each other, with other teams. Well, now, this is called sports. Intergroup conflict is when the Utah Jazz, which is one group, plays, I don't know, LA Lakers, all right, whomever, another group, okay? Conflict occurs when they come because they're both they're challenging each other's priorities, okay? But now out of this conflict comes amazing sport, comes amazing performance. People perform best when they are pushed and challenged to do so. And this means conflict, okay? We cherish this kind of conflict. Then that's your favorite kind of conflict, huh, Noah? I'm not into sports, but I get it, right? Intragroup conflict arises when members of an existing group find themselves at odds and choose sides, right? But even then, this can bring about innovation and pushing forward. Person versus group conflict occurs when a member of a group breaks its rules or norms. Guys, you are experiencing right now the result of person versus group conflict. I am breaking the group norms on what a live stream looks like, okay? I suspect, I don't know this for sure, but I suspect that other live stream courses that you've had have not been like this. They've just been the Zoom stuff and so forth, which is fine, I suppose, right? But conflict can bring about innovation and challenging norms and challenging expectations. And that's what I'm trying to do here with the way that I approach live stream, opposed to how Salt Lake Community College, for the most part, approaches it. And it's not that anything harmful happens from this. In fact, innovation and new discoveries and new methodologies can come about. So conflict can be very, very good there, okay? So this means the real goal of managing conflict, as I said before, is we want to make sure that we are mitigating the nasty negatives and not letting them derail the project, and embracing the things that bring about innovation, creativity, and so forth, because innovation and creativity cannot happen without conflict. Now, here's how we're going to approach this, just so you know. Right up, I guess it is there. Okay. So you got a couple little pictures there, right? First of all, the gal who's going to be kind of doing some graphics for us, if you will, here, her name is Claire. She's a former student of mine, and she has a company called Canyon Creations Jewelry. She makes custom jewelry. It's really, really, really good stuff. Check it out. It's over at Canyon Creations Jewelry on Instagram. She's on the web and all that sort of on the web. She's online and so forth. And hey, by the way, if you guys have businesses, and yes, Kiara, it's on my list. We're going to talk. I'm here to help promote you guys. Your business majors, let's promote your businesses. The next thing you see over here is a little dial. That dial is set to 0 right now. I'm going to set that dial to where I demonstrate a certain kind of conflict, just so that I am completely transparent with you on how I experience conflict and how you would manage somebody who displays a certain kind of conflict. Okay? All right. So first, let's look at low conformers. Okay? I am an 11. Okay? On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm an 11. You know, I need to put in the video clip from this is Spinal Tap. You know, this one goes up to 11, right? Let's see. Low conformers think independently and want to do things differently from others in the group, thereby creating conflict. So I create conflict. All right. Now, what do we do about this? Well, first of all, why are they this way? Why am I this way? Why are low conformers like this? Well, low conformers believe that you can't just keep doing the same thing and do things the same way and expect different results, let alone improved results. Low conformers, if it's not broken, if it's working, break it. There you go. You know the saying, if it works, don't fix it. Well, a low conformer says, if it works, break it and then fix it. Let's explore other ways to do this and so forth. This can be very frustrating. That's why it causes conflict. They want to challenge the status quo and bring innovation and creativity into the mix. As you see, this is innovation and creativity is what I want to try. I want to see what works. I want to play. I want to have fun with it. So I create conflict in doing that. Well, how do you deal with these people? What's the best way to deal with somebody like me? Well, first of all, resist the urge to force them to conform. It won't work. If you might be a very, I'm by the book, straight-laced, we have to conform. Yeah, that's fine. Resist the urge to force them to conform, because then you are going to lose all the innovation and ideas and passion that they can bring. All right? Nonconformers tend to bring passion to the game. Support them when others are overly critical. So there, in public, in the meeting, if others are overly critical of something that they're saying or proposing and so forth, say, no, hold on. Maggie has a good point. Let's explore this. Maggie, I'm not sure I'm on board with you here, and here, but I get what you're saying, right? So show them support to show that they're not being attacked. And then keep them focused on the constraints: time, budget, stakeholder expectations. This one is the most important, okay? Because you got nonconformers like me that are like, oh, I'm going to do this, and this. I'm going to do all this kind of, I want to do all this sort of stuff. Yay! Every once in a while, you need to say, okay, listen. It has to be done in 2 weeks. We've got no budget. We don't have those skill sets, and we don't have the equipment you're talking about. Given these constraints, what is a way we can deliver something worthwhile? Okay, so this is a good way to kind of remind a nonconformer that what they have to offer is valuable, but if they're going to operate outside of the constraints, they are not being helpful. On the other hand, if you can recommend some stuff to me that work inside of the constraints, now you've got my attention, which is actually why I have another YouTube channel, Nutshell Studio Productions, where I talk about how to do this kind of thing, but not needing 2 cameras, 8 monitors, and lights and green screens, and so on and so forth. You can actually do a lot of what we're doing right now with a simple phone. That's it. All you need is this, and you can do a lot of what we're doing right now. So it's kind of saying, hey, even with constraints, you can do something a little better. But this is a good one to remind these folks of. Okay, next we've got envious people. I'm not very envious. Now, this is no slam against people who are, okay? Just because I'm low on something doesn't mean that that's an uncool one, and I'm high on something that's a cool one. No. And I'm just sharing with you, this doesn't speak to me as much. They cause conflict by wanting something that someone else has in the group, such as influence, respect, work assignment. Okay, folks, this comes up a lot. This comes up a lot in the workplace because supposedly it's a meritocracy. It's not, but they'll tell you it's a meritocracy. And so we're all jockeying for influence and respect and work assignments and so forth. We want to be put on the cool projects. We want to stay away from these toxic projects as much as possible. We want a seat at the table, and Bob has a seat at the table, so Linda is envious of that, and yet Linda is project managing this kick-ass project while Bob is over doing something else lame. This happens a lot, okay? So, first of all, why are they this way? Why are envious people envious? Well, we always compare our circumstances with our peers and assess our value based on the results. Do you have any friends who have already earned their degree? Is there a smidge of envy that, oh man, if I'd just gone right into school at 18, I know some of you are 18, so you're like, I don't know what you're talking about, Lon. But, you look at where somebody else is in life and you're like, oh my gosh, they have a career, they have a degree, they have a home, who knows? Well, we do this. This is normal. Another one is, used properly, envy can drive us forward, motivate us to set goals, work harder, and apply our faculties to get what we want. Actually, this is actually a really good, strong positive of envy, is if you want more, like whatever else this person has, then you're going to work harder. You're going to study harder. You're going to apply yourself. You're going to focus. You're going to prioritize. You're going to do what it takes to get what you want. This is positive envy, okay? So how do you manage these people? What's the resolution? Well, First, help them understand and articulate what they want. Yes, absolutely have to be driven. Yeah, I completely agree, Noah. Completely agree. Where does that put us there? Oh, that does give us our next one. Okay, they're out of the way. All right, so help them understand and articulate what they want. Oftentimes, hey, listen, you want more? You want more. I want more. But more what? It's not always easy to articulate what more we want. We say we want more money, but the truth is you don't want more money. You want more of whatever that money would give you. So then is that you want more free time? Do you want more autonomy at work? Do you want to have more influence in the project? Do you want to have more financial security? What is it that you are envious of? Because when an envious person is able to clearly articulate what they want, it's easier for you to deliver what they want. Problem solved. Right? Okay, give them opportunities to earn that which they desire, right? So if there's somebody who's saying, hey, listen, I want to have, I don't want to dedicate so much time to this, right? I want to do more of this other stuff. And then you say, okay, well then can you give us this slice of time, this slice of time, and this slice of time? And they go, yes. And so now you have an agreement. Also, follow up when they deliver and call out their contribution. So envious people kind of want to earn what it is that they want, and they want to be recognized when they earn it, when they achieve it. So call it out, recognize it, right? So give them those kudos that they want. Okay, next ones. Whiners and complainers. Okay, I'm not this at all. Again, no judgment. We're going to talk about whiners and complainers are a good thing. Remember, we're reframing conflict. Whiners and complainers never happy with the direction of the team and discusses their problems and complaints constantly. Okay, well now, why are they like this? Is it because they're awful? No. Remember fundamental attribution error. Why are they like this? Well, complaining is just a less attractive form of a desire for things to be better, to do better. Complaining is actually a superpower of the human condition. The reason we have such cool stuff and great lifestyles is because somebody complained. Somebody said, oh man, I hate the way I have to get my film developed all the time. I get a roll of film. It has 24 slides in it, 24 frames. I put it in my camera. I take all the pictures. I go off and I get it developed. 4 days later, I pick it up and I see that all 12 were crappy. And somebody said, we're going to invent digital cameras. That problem is gone. And it's because people complained about it, right? So whining and complaining is just a less attractive way of doing what we are all really good at, finding opportunities for improvement, okay? It shows a lack of tolerance for what we perceive as mediocre. Whiners and complainers look at something and say, that's a mediocre process. That's a mediocre decision. That's a mediocre product. I think we can do better. And so they complain. All right? That's a good thing. That's a good thing. So how do you deal with these people? How do you resolve it? Well, first of all, listen. Listen to them. But not too much. Let me explain. You want to listen to them because odds are they have some important stuff to say, stuff that maybe is off your radar, is in your blind spot. You don't see it. So you want to get their perspective. But if you give them too much space to vomit, you'll never get them to shut up. Okay? So you want to make sure that they are clearly defining what their chief root issues are and coming up with solutions to overcome those chief root issues. So you'll want to listen to them, but you want to make sure that you're kind of herding them toward a solution versus just giving them open rein to complain ad nauseum. Ad nauseum means until you're nauseous. Okay, do frequent reality checks. So oftentimes when somebody's complaining, they're basing this on their perceptions. And so when they say, hey, you know what? Adam is never showing up to the meetings. Hold on, time out. You say Adam's never showing up to the meetings, but is Adam not contributing? Is he not delivering? Seems to me he's reading all the meeting minutes. And also we agreed 3 weeks back that the meetings conflicted with something that that he needed to do, but he said he would read the minutes, respond, and do the work assigned. He's been doing that. Would you agree? Well, yes, he has been. Okay, so the fact that he isn't attending the meetings is not really a problem. What's the problem, right? But then it becomes so really make sure that they identify the true root problem. Okay, ask for solutions. I actually have a video out on Nutshell Brainery about how to basically ask for support from a professor or a manager or what have you. And one of the things I say is, if you come to me and complain, I don't care. I mean, I'll make sounds like I care, but you're just complaining. On the other hand, if you come to me and complain and offer some possible solutions, oh, you've got my attention. All right, let's talk. And if you come to me and complain, offer possible solutions, and then volunteer to help implement these solutions, make them happen, you are my hero. I will write job recommendations for you. I will personally introduce you to hiring managers. I will do everything I can to help your career. All right? So help them come up with solutions as they're complaining. And then require facts other than implications. Complainers might often fall prey to this fundamental attribution error and say, well, Ashley is never showing up because she's lazy or she doesn't care. And it's like, well, now hold on. I agree she's not showing up, but what makes you think she's lazy or doesn't care? Not showing up is not necessarily directly correlated with lazy or doesn't care. Let's get down to it, right? So these are things you can do with them. All right. Then you got passive, unresponsive people. I'm pretty high here. In a meeting, we'll talk about the whys. I'm an 8 on this scale. They seem agreeable on the surface, but respond to conflict by shutting down. Oh yeah, I will shut down. Okay. Well, now, why are they like this? Well, they may not be fully committed to the vision of the project. If I'm not fully committed, if I don't see the vision, if I don't think it's the right vision, and I've been shut down, I just shut up. I'm not going to talk. This is not a good thing, by the way. We're going to talk about how to resolve this, but I get this. If our contributions are not valued, we'll apply our faculties in areas where they are more appreciated. So Making assumptions does nothing for no one. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct, Noah. So I feel I have a lot to offer. By the way, anybody can say this, but I'm just using me as an example to demonstrate authenticity in this. I feel I have a lot to offer. And if I'm in a venue, in a project, in a meeting where my skills and ideas are not being valued and no one's listening, or I'm unable to steer a solution in a way that I think is good, fine, I'll work on something else. I have plenty of crap to work on. I want to do a new animation for my live stream. I want to put together another presentation for a workshop I'm doing. I have a consulting gig I need to work on. I'll pull that up. I have a lot to contribute. I will contribute it where it is afforded the most appreciation and value. So this is why people shut down. Okay? So, how do you deal with these people? First of all, ask open-ended questions. So if you perceive that somebody has shut down in the meeting and is not contributing, ask them questions, but open-ended. This means you cannot answer the question with a yes or no. That's a close-ended question. So if you ask, so Eric, you good with this idea? And Eric says, yeah. That's a closed-ended question and you didn't help at all, right? Whereas if you were to say to Eric, okay, Eric, with this as an idea that we move forward with, what are some concerns that you might have? What do you think we're not looking at? Now Eric has to explain things and talk through it. And with communication comes the opportunity to resolve that communication. Furthermore, Eric might have things that you really, really, really should listen to. Remember, this is about looking at conflict as a positive. Ask for specific contributions. I need you to do this at this time and so forth. Be specific. Don't fill the empty space. When I'm teaching in a lecture, online lecture, no, not online, in person, it's really tempting to fill the empty space. So if I say to the class, so why do you think people shut down? And I get crickets. It's really easy for me, really tempting to kind of jump in and start talking again. And students figure this out. They figure out that if they just stay silent long enough, the professor will start doing this crap again. Don't do it. Give that space time to do its work. Validate their contributions when they speak up. What gets measured gets done. What gets rewarded gets done. So when people speak up who would normally shut down and they are recognized and appreciated for their contributions, they are going to contribute more. It's not rocket science. Then we have the excuse makers. All right. I'm a 0 on this. Now, it goes way, way back in my family. I had an experience with my father that really expunged this from me. Nevertheless, there are positives to this. So just because I'm a 0 doesn't mean that we don't appreciate the high excuse makers. I'll show you. High excuse makers don't like to take personal responsibility, contending that it's not my fault, afraid of the shame that failure can bring. Yeah, it's real. So, why are excuse makers like this? I'm turning on my fan. It's getting hot in here. I have a lot of equipment. Well, first of all, the desire to avoid shame is really high. Really high. Okay? I do a lot of weird things in these live streams and so forth, right? And it's really easy for me to go, that's cringy, Lon. That's really cringy. And it's going to be shameful. I mean, what dude does this, right? But I want to be unfettered. I want to be, I don't want to be trammeled by this idea of, will it be embarrassing? I want to try these things, but it's hard to overcome it. There were some of you during the dance sequence that were like, I'm not going to dance. This is lame. This is so lame. Oh my gosh, this is embarrassing. Really? You're in a room alone, no one there, and you're not going to get up and at least move a little? Shame is a powerful driver, even when you're alone, okay? Could also be that there was somebody in the room, I get it. If we detect that the group will shame us, if we're associated with a failure, we'll do our best to distance ourselves from accountability. So if we're with a team and that team is failing, we'll try to distance ourselves from that team because we don't want to be part of that failure. It's just a normal thing. It's a normal thing. Okay. So what's the resolution? Don't be dismissive of the excuse. It may be real and require resolution. When somebody makes an excuse and they bring up they bring up some excuse, it might be real, right? I mean, it might be a real issue that you have not thought about and you have not considered. And so don't just say, oh, you're making excuses. It's like, well, no. I'm not making excuses. I am pointing out valid reasons why this project may be at risk if we do not mitigate for these circumstances. Oh, okay. I'm going to listen to you now. Don't be afraid to ask questions. When somebody brings up an excuse, poke at it, ask questions, get to the root cause. Express disappointment, not anger. It's an interesting thing. We are social creatures, and it's important for us to feel part of the community, part of our group, part of our tribe. When somebody is angry with us, our knee-jerk reaction is to fight back, to be defensive. When somebody expresses disappointment, it hurts. And it challenges our place in that group. And that can bring about good change. I think of an example I had back in my career ages and ages ago with my then manager, now one of my closest friends. She expressed in a meeting with me, she expressed disappointment, and it cut me to the quick. Because I really admired her. I was happy to be part of that team. And the fact that I disappointed her, it would have been nicer if you just cut off my pinky, right? So, not anger. Help the excuse maker save face. All right? If they actually failed at something, don't show off to the whole team that they failed, all right? That's shame. That's not disappointment. That's not anger. That's shame. And shame's it's no bueno, right? It's no good. So help them save face. Finally, set clear expectations and follow through. You're going to have many circumstances in your team where somebody fails to deliver on something that they said they would. Follow these tips and tricks, and you can help get them back on board. Okay? And that, my friends, is it. You did it. You made it through the lecture, an hour and a half. Holy cow. Really was an hour and a half, wasn't it? You tried out some new dance moves. You learned to juggle. But more importantly, you learn some really good tips and tricks on how to resolve conflict as you move your teams from forming to storming to norming. So please use these things and you're going to be in good shape. All right. Send me an email. Email here. Send me an email that says you are here, and I'll get us our points. It was a little quiet today, so it won't be a ton of points, but hey, points are points, right? So send me an email, let me know that you're here, and we'll take care of you. And as always, I'm going to stick around a little bit, so if you have any questions or comments, let me know. We can resolve them here. If it's something that you would rather meet over Zoom about, then I'm happy to send you a Zoom link, and we'll do that. So otherwise, have a fantastic week. We will not be meeting next week because of Juneteenth. So I'll see you for our last live stream lecture in 2 weeks. After that, we will be meeting in Zoom to do our projects. Okay? So have a great week, and we'll see you around. And until we talk again, have a fantastic day. And if you have any questions, je suis là. Je suis ici. Je pense que le deux c'est le même, but I think one's better than the other. Yeah, well, closed caption doesn't know when I'm speaking French. Juneteenth is a holiday. What's the significance? Yeah, Juneteenth was actually set up as a holiday, Noah, just like, I think 2 years ago. This is totally new. Juneteenth, it is to recognize the end of slavery in the United States. Now, interestingly, you would think, well, now, wouldn't that be Abolition Day, right? When President Lincoln signed the abolition notice, decree, I forget what it's called, right? No, Juneteenth is actually recognizing that Texas was the last state in the Union to formally recognize the end of slavery. So slavery continued to persist in the United States up until Texas in June said, and I forget the year, said, okay, we recognize the end of slavery. I don't know why they didn't choose an actual date rather than call it Juneteenth, or why they didn't give it a more descriptive name. Juneteenth doesn't really evoke any victory for slavery or anything, but that's what it is. So they didn't call me and ask for my input on the name of the holiday. So I'll be sending a strongly worded notice. And by the way, anybody who knows the history of it better than I do, please correct me. Please correct me. This is how I understand Juneteenth to be, but I'm no expert on it. Any other questions? Yeah, no, I'll probably investigate it a little bit more, or hopefully somebody will put a comment below and tell us more about it, send us a link to it. Hey, you too, Noah. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. We'll be taking care of you. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Thank you, Liz. All right. Well, I don't see any other questions coming in, so I am going to go ahead and sign off. And yeah, have a great day. We'll see you next time.